will. I urge everyone get the Kununurra and visit Page at Revive.
Order. Being 2 p.m, we'll proceed to questions without notice. Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds, and it relates to the allegations of rape which have been made publicly. The alleged rape occurred on the evening of Friday the 22nd or morning of Saturday the 23rd of March 2019. On or before Monday the 25th, the Minister's office is made aware an incident took place. On Tuesday the 26th of March 2019, the Minister's then Chief of Staff, who currently works in the Prime Minister's office, meets with both the alleged rapist and Ms Higgins. Ms Higgins discloses the alleged rape. On Monday the 1st of April, the Minister finally meets with Ms Higgins. How can the Minister maintain to the Senate and to the public that 6 days after Ms Higgins disclosed the alleged rape to the Minister's Chief of Staff, that she, the Minister, still did not know?
The Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds.
Well, thank you very much, Mr President. I thank Senator Wong for that question. Like everybody in this building, I stand and I still stand ready to assist Brittany in any way that I can. And this begins and ends by allowing Brittany to guide this process, respecting her privacy and respecting the integrity of what is now a police investigation. She has indicated that she intends to pursue her complaint with the Australian Federal Police, and all of these matters go to the heart of that inquiry.
Has the Minister— sorry, on the point of order?
But I do make this point of order, that it is, if there is an active investigation, the Minister should demonstrate that. If an investigation is underway, the Minister should demonstrate how being upfront about the Minister's conduct, how that would compromise the investigation, because that is the test. That is the test.
I've allowed Senator Wong you to make the point. Senator Reynolds, have you concluded your answer? You have. Senator Wong, a supplementary question.
What have you got to hide?
What are you hiding?
Order.
Yeah, clearly, it's so obvious you are hiding.
I again ask, how can the Minister maintain that 6 days after Ms Higgins disclosed the alleged rape to her Chief of Staff, that the Minister did not know?
Senator Reynolds.
Well, thank you very much, Mr President. And as I said again, at the heart of my and my Chiefs of Staff response to this matter has always been to seek the appropriate advice and to ensure that she was supported in whatever decision she made about her own life. This is, as I understand, now the subject of an active police investigation. It has always been an open investigation, is my advice.
Order.
And I understand that she is making a statement from her public comments.
Order. I have Senator Wong on a point of order.
And I raise my previous point of order. Is the Minister assuring the chamber that she has knowledge of an active police investigation, and can she advise the chamber on what basis her being accountable for her conduct compromises that? Because that is the test, and anything less is you avoiding your accountability to this place.
Senator Wong. Senator Reynolds, to continue.
Thank you very much, Mr President. I really don't have much more to add to this.
Order. Order. Order.
Thank you, Senator Wong.
Senator Wong.
I do not for a second resile from my determination to make sure that Brittany, that the staff member herself, is in control of the process, and that is the case.
Senator Wong, a final supplementary question.
You didn't do the right thing.
The Minister has previously said any complaint of violence, verbal, physical or sexual, must always be taken seriously, particularly when, as members of parliament, we must be setting the standard for members of the community. Why has this Minister so failed to meet her own standard? Why is she continuing the cover-up?
Senator Reynolds.
Well, thank you very much, Mr President. And all I can reiterate is, as I believe this is a subject of ongoing AFP investigation, that is where this matter rests. It is the right of the individual to control the process,
Order.
which is why I I referred
Order.
and
I can't hear
facilitated
Senator
her
Reynolds.
meeting with the Australian Federal Police at the time because it was I facilitated the meeting with the AFP with the member concerned. I have nothing
Order.
further to add, Mr. President.
Order. Order on my left. Order. Order. Senators on my left. Senators on my left. Senator Small has the call. Senator Wong. Order. Senator Gallagher. Senator Small.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Colbeck.
Order.
Can the Minister please update the Senate on
Order.
the Morrison
Sorry, Senator
government's
Small, I can't-
comprehensive
Senator
plan?
Small, please, I'll give you a chance to start again. I can't hear the question. I didn't even hear quite to whom it was. Order. 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 Senator Wong. Senator Wong. Senator Payne. All senators. All senators. Senator Small, I ask you to recommence.
Thank
Senator
you,
Wong,
Mr
please.
President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Colbeck. Can the Minister please update the Senate
Point
on
of
the
order.
Morrison government's
Point
comprehensive
of order.
plan
Sorry,
to roll out
Sorry,
the
Senator Small, I have Senator Wong on a point of order.
I have been asked to withdraw an assertion that Senator Payne knew about the cover-up for 2 years.
Order.
If she is telling us she didn't know,
Order.
I withdraw. And I invite every other minister
Order.
to make the same assertion to the Senate,
Senator
that they
Wong.
didn't know.
Senator Wong. Order. Order across the chamber. There are order. Order. Everyone. Senator Small, you can start again.
Thank you, Mr President. A third time lucky. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Colbeck. Can the Minister please update the Senate on the Morrison government's comprehensive plan to roll out the COVID-19 vaccines across Australia?
The Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President, and thank you, Senator Small, for your question. Rolling out the COVID vaccine across the country is one of the government's highest priorities, Mr President. 142,000 doses of the COVID-19 Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine arrived in Sydney Airport on Monday, a major milestone in Australia's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the first shipment out of 20 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine the government has secured as a part of Australia's COVID-19 vaccine treatment strategy. The country is on track for the first and most vulnerable Australians to start receiving the vaccine from Monday, Mr President. Approximately 80,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine will be released in the first week. Approximately 50,000 vaccines will be made available for states and territories, for hotel quarantine and border workers and frontline healthcare workers. Approximately 30,000 vaccines will be made available for the Commonwealth Vaccine InReach workforce to aged care and disability care residents. It is expected that of these, at least 60,000 will be administered by the end of February, with others to be continually administered thereafter, including to our most vulnerable residents in more than 240 aged care facilities next week, Mr President. Suppressing the virus, delivering the vaccine and cementing our economic recovery to create jobs are this government's highest priority.
Senator Small, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the Minister outline how the targeted and phased rollout roadmap prioritises the most vulnerable Australians?
Senator Colbeck.
Thanks, Mr President, and thanks, Senator Small. Mr President, we have prioritised the most vulnerable people in our society to receive COVID-19 vaccine first. The most vulnerable include our frontline workers and our senior Australians. They will be part of Class 1A, as I have just outlined. It's on track to roll out next week. Phase 1B will include adults over 70 years and other healthcare workers, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people over 55, younger adults with an underlying medical condition, including those with a disability, and high-risk workers, including defence, police, fire, emergency services and meat processing workers. Phase 2A, Mr President, includes adults aged 50 to 69 years, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people aged 18 to 54 years and other critical and high-risk workers, Mr President. Phase 2B expands to the remainder of the Australian population.
Senator Small, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister also update the Senate on how the government is working particularly closely with aged care facilities to distribute the vaccines?
Senator Colbeck.
Mr President, and the activation of the vaccination process into aged care is a significant logistic exercise for the government but also for aged care providers. Information has been sent out to aged care facilities for residents, their families, carers and loved ones about what to expect in the lead-up to and on vaccination day. Our clinical workforce will work very closely with each facility in the lead-up to vaccination day to make sure the day runs safely and efficiently. Clinical staff at facilities will check the health of residents prior to administering the vaccine, and each residential aged care facility will ask residents and their substitute decision-makers, if there's one in place, to consent to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. Mr President, I met with providers and their representatives again this morning and engaged in a very active and constructive discussion with respect to the rollout. The rollout is a significant logistical exercise for all involved, and I want to thank them for their support and efforts to roll out this vaccine.
Senator Gallagher.
President, my question is to the Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds. On Monday, the minister said that in her meeting with Ms Higgins on the 1st of April 2019, that she was, and I quote, "not aware of the details or the circumstances of the alleged incident in my office." When did the minister become aware, and who told her?
Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds.
Well, thank you very much, and I thank the senator for the question. And as I indicated in my previous response, it's my understanding that Brittany has indicated she intends to pursue her complaint with the Australian Federal Police and that she has asked for her privacy to be respected, and I will do so.
Senator Gallagher, on a point of order.
Point of order, just the information of the chamber. Ms Higgins has given permission for us to ask questions about this incident. Just for your information, I don't think you should
Senator
hide
Gallagher,
behind Ms Higgins
I've allowed you to make
by
your
refusing
point.
to answer these
not
questions.
Technically a point of order. I'll call the minister to continue. Senator Reynolds has concluded. Senator Gallagher, a supplementary question.
In terms of the Prime Minister's office and their awareness, and I quote from the government's own statement, "As part of this process, the Prime Minister's office provided support to Minister Reynolds and her office in assessing a breach of the Statement of Standards for Ministerial Staff by the other staff member involved in the incident." Can the minister explain in her own words what the nature of this support was?
Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Mr President. The Prime Minister announced yesterday that these matters, the one that Senator Gallagher has referred to, would be examined thoroughly, and I welcome and I support that process. What I will say, again, is at all times my staff and I try to support Brittany in—
Order. Order. Senator Gallagher, a final supplementary question.
Are you hiding? My supplementary, Mr President, is by whom was this support from the Prime Minister's office provided, and why did the Prime Minister's office only provide support in relation to the alleged rapist?
Senator Reynolds.
Well, thank you very much. And again, I'll just reiterate that the Prime Minister yesterday announced that these matters would be thoroughly examined, and I welcome and I will support that process.
Senator Reynolds has concluded her answer. Senator Wong. Senator Reynolds has concluded her answer, I gather. Senator Waters.
Thanks very much, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Minister Birmingham. The Prime Minister has said that he was not aware of the allegations made by Brittany Higgins until Monday and that his office didn't know until Friday last week, despite the involvement of 2 ministers and current senior staff in his office. Former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull says he finds it very, very, very hard to believe that the PM's office was not aware. Yesterday, the PM also said he wanted to listen to Brittany, but then he questioned her report that she'd been contacted by his fixer, Jeroen Finkelstein. Do you agree with the former Prime Minister that it strains credulity that Mr Morrison's office did not know about the alleged rape? And do you support the Prime Minister's suggestion that Brittany was confused and wrong about contacts from Mr Finkelstein?
The Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr President. Well, Mr President, in relation to advice provided to the Prime Minister's office, it's important to appreciate what Senator Reynolds has indicated previously, the respect for Brittany's choices and confidentiality. The primary concern is for Brittany and her welfare. And it's out of concern for Brittany and to empower her decision-making that Minister Reynolds facilitated discussions between Brittany and police in early 2019. I note that parliamentary departments provided access to police with CCTV footage at that time and have preserved such footage to facilitate any future access. It's clear, obviously from what has been said publicly, that Brittany believes the support ultimately was inadequate, for which Minister Reynolds has unreservedly apologised. Concern for Brittany's well-being remains paramount, including her right to preserve her choices around whatever actions or steps that she takes. But the government will certainly continue to cooperate with any investigations undertaken.
I have Senator Waters on a point of order.
Yes, a point of order on relevance, please, President. My question clearly went to whether the minister agrees with former Prime Minister Turnbull's views, and it pertains to whether or not he agrees that Brittany was lying.
Senator Waters, I remind senators again that when there is a long preamble, the minister can be directly relevant. That was a long question. The minister is clearly being directly relevant to the question. Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr President. The Prime Minister has made clear his view that he believes he ought to have been notified earlier, but of course, as always, how such notifications are handled in the future will be a factor of consideration of the reviews that are underway, noting the fact that the privacy and confidentiality wishes of individuals also need to be respected when such issues arise.
Senator Waters, a supplementary question.
Yes, thanks, President. The bungled response to incidents around Brittany Higgins' assault has involved senior staff in the Prime Minister's office, 2 ministers, security guards, the presiding officers and the Department of Parliamentary Services. The government's fingerprints are all over this, and it's simply impossible to imagine that an in-house investigation will be adequate to get to the bottom of this. When will the government commit to an independent investigation into the response to Brittany Higgins' rape allegations?
Senator Birmingham.
Well, Mr President, the government and the Prime Minister committed yesterday to a non-partisan, cross-party review around workplace matters, and Senator, I will be reaching out to you, as I will to others, to ascertain the next steps in relation to how that review is undertaken.
Senator Waters, a final supplementary question.
Thanks, President. Following the allegations aired on Four Corners last year, I wrote to both you and the opposition leader in the Senate requesting a cross-party meeting to discuss options to establish a robust, independent complaints procedure and to give staff confidence that allegations would be treated seriously and that there could be consequences for perpetrators. While I welcome the calls that are gaining some traction this week, why has it taken nearly 3 months and the most serious of misconducts in this building for the government to finally act, and act in a weak manner?
Order. Senator Birmingham.
Well, Mr President, I don't accept the final assertion there. I've just given an undertaking that I will be engaging with Senator Waters, with Senator Farrell or whomever the opposition nominates, and indeed with others who wish to participate, to ensure that the type of cross-party response to create a stronger set of practices in relation to workplace relations matters in this building for the future is as comprehensive as it needs to be, and I look forward to engaging with those parties to achieve that outcome.
Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction, Senator Seselja. Can the Minister update the Senate on how the Morrison government is ensuring that Australian families and businesses have access to the affordable, reliable energy they depend on, which will support job creation and continue our economic recovery?
The The Minister representing the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction, Senator Seselja.
Oh, thank you very much, and I thank Senator Hughes for the question. The Morrison government, unlike those opposite, is focused on delivering affordable, reliable and secure electricity for all Australian families and businesses. This is central to our ongoing commitment to economic recovery and will support jobs, productivity and economic growth. And our plan to reduce power bills for hundreds of thousands of households and businesses is working. As a result of the default market offer reforms introduced by the Morrison government, Australians are already benefiting from lower electricity prices. Wholesale energy prices across the national electricity market have fallen for 17 straight months, from well before COVID, with wholesale costs making up around a third of residential electricity bills and even more for industry. These price falls are delivering real savings for Australian families and businesses. Today, the Australian Energy Regulator released its draft determination for the default market offer for 2021-22. Now, the DMO will translate into lower prices for households and businesses across New South Wales, South East Queensland and South Australia. The DMO caps the price of the most expensive offers in the market, protecting consumers from high electricity prices. The Australian Energy Regulator's draft price determination released today will drop prices for households on standing offers by up to 7.9% or $136 a year, and small businesses by up to 8.5%. This builds on substantial savings already delivered in the first 2 years of our default market offer reforms. Average residential customers who were on the highest standing offers prior to introduction of the DMO could now be up to $802 per year better off in New South Wales, $794 better off in South East Queensland and $707 better off in South Australia. We're putting more money into people's pockets and supporting our economic recovery.
Senator Hughes, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister update the Senate on how all Australian families and businesses, including in my home state of New South Wales, can make sure they're getting the best energy deal?
Senator Seselja.
Well, thank you, and I can. The Morrison government remains absolutely focused on providing relief to Australian households and business, and I'm pleased to advise the Senate that we are empowering consumers to find the best energy deals available. Now, while the default market offer protects customers from the highest priced offers, it's important that households and businesses understand there are better offers available. That's why we're not only encouraging customers to shop around for the best deal, but we are giving them the tools to do so. So the government's Energy Made Easy website, energymadeeasy.gov.au, makes it easy for customers to compare all energy offers that are available in the market and to make the switch. We've also added new features to the website to make it even easier to compare deals, including for solar feed-in credits. I'd encourage all energy customers, whether you're a household or a small business, to check out the website, review your energy policy and to find a cheaper power plan.
Senator Hughes, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister please advise how the Morrison government's approach is ensuring that energy remains affordable for small businesses, particularly in my home state of New South Wales, and is the minister aware of any risks to this approach?
Senator Seselja.
Thank you, Mr President. And yes, I am. Since we introduced the default market offer, the average small business in New South Wales could have saved up to $3,124 a year. Now, that is in stark contrast and would be put at risk by those opposite. Now, not for a lack of trying from the Otis Group, who have absolutely done their best. They've had some early wins where they managed to get rid of Mark Butler as the energy spokesman, and they thought they were onto something. And well done to Senator Farrell for that.
Order.
Only to have him replaced by Chris I Love a Carbon Tax Bowen.
Order.
So they get rid of Mark Butler, and then straight away they get hit with Chris Bowen. And to add insult to injury, they have the spokesman for Queensland Resources is Murray Watt. Murray Watt, who's never seen a resource that he would ever want to see deployed in any energy source, be it in Queensland or elsewhere. We're getting on with the job. We're lowering energy prices in contrast to those opposite.
Time for the answer has expired. Senator Keneally.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds. The minister says she always wanted Ms Higgins to drive this process. If that is true, why has the minister failed to assure the Senate that neither she, nor her staff, nor any of the Prime Minister's staff said or did anything which may have encouraged Ms Higgins not to pursue the incident with police. Will the minister now provide that assurance?
The Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds.
Yes.
Senator Keneally, a supplementary question.
The minister says she has always wanted Ms Higgins to drive this process. If that is true, why, as Ms Higgins says, was the alleged rape, and I quote, a taboo thing it was never spoken about again?
Senator Reynolds.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I thank Senator Keneally for that question. And as I have observed in this place over the last 3 days, that this process begins and ends with allowing her to guide this process, respecting her privacy and respecting the integrity of what is now a police investigation.
Senator Keneally, a final supplementary question.
The minister says she has always wanted Ms Higgins to drive this process, but when asked about whether, when Ms Higgins was asked whether she felt pressured in any way whatsoever not to proceed with the case to the police, Ms Higgins stated unequivocally, and I quote, absolutely. Absolutely. Does the minister accept that Ms Higgins felt pressured not to proceed with her complaint to the police?
Senator Reynolds.
I'll refer back to my first answer, where I said yes.
Senator Davey. Oh, order, Senator. All right, I'll call the minister. Senator Reynolds.
Mr. President, this is a critically important point. I have been very, very, very consistent and said that this has always been about consulting Brittany Higgins and providing the advice to her and allowing her own agency to determine what she does.
Order. Senator Keneally.
The point of order is direct relevance. I understand the minister got back to her up on her feet to attempt to answer the question, but she didn't actually address the question. It was, does she accept Ms Higgins felt pressure? It's not about what she did, it's about what does she accept.
With respect, Senator Keneally, I cannot deem the minister's answer in any way not directly relevant. There's an opportunity after question time to debate questions. Senator Reynolds, have you concluded or you wish to continue? Senator Reynolds.
I cannot speak for anybody else in this place. I speak and I'm accountable for my own actions. And as I've said, at the beginning and the end of this process, it was about respecting her privacy and her integrity and her wishes.
Senator Davey.
Thank you. My question is to the Minister for Employment, Skills, Small and Family Business, Senator Cash. Can the minister please outline how our government is supporting jobs in regional Australia as we emerge from bushfires, drought and now the COVID pandemic, and how this investment will support further job creation and continue our economic recovery?
The Minister for Employment, Skills, Small and Family Business, Senator Cash.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and I thank Senator Davey for her question, and I acknowledge the commitment of all of us on the government side of the chamber to rural and regional Australia. Mr. President, supporting rural and regional Australia, in particular through the COVID-19 pandemic, has been a fundamental priority of the Morrison government. Our government has stood with rural and regional Australia through its most difficult times, and we are putting in place the right policies, the right investments to ensure that those in rural and regional Australia have that opportunity to emerge even stronger on the other side of COVID-19. When we look at the contribution of rural and regional Australia, it produces our nation's most valuable export, it supplies our energy, and I think all of us in this chamber would agree. It certainly provides us here in Australia with some of our most attractive tourist destinations. When you look at the breakdown of the workforce, Senator Davey, with over 32% of the workforce is actually in New South Wales and over 50% of the workforce in Tasmania and Queensland, they are actually located in our regions. And that is why our $74 billion JobMaker plan is such and investment in regional Australia, and, importantly, the creation of regional jobs. Because certainly the Morrison government are all about putting in place the right economic policies so that all Australians, but in this case rural and regional Australians, are able to prosper, grow and create more jobs for Australians. Mr President, research by the National Skills Commission, 51% of the 260,000 resources jobs are in regional areas, and over 40% of these workers, they receive their qualification via vocational education and training. And again, that is why the government puts in place policies to support our communities, to support rural and regional Australia, to prosper, to grow and to create more jobs for Australians.
Senator Davey, a supplementary question.
Thank you. And as part of our government's more than $7 billion investment in skills, how are the apprentice wage subsidies supporting a new generation of skilled workers throughout rural and regional communities?
Senator Cash.
Well, Mr President, we acknowledge that skills and training they are critical to the manufacturing and the resources industries that drive so many of our economies in these regions. The government's put in place, as we've spoken about before, the Supporting Apprentices and Trainees Wage Subsidy. And this has, of course, provided crucial support across Australia, but in particular in our regional areas for their apprentices and the small businesses that have those apprentices throughout COVID-19. In remote and regional Australia, the subsidy has actually helped keep over 41,000 apprentices and trainees in work and almost 22,000 small businesses. Without that subsidy, those apprentices and trainees may not have been able, Mr President, to be kept on the job. And Senator Davey, you'd be interested to know that in those figures that actually includes over 7,000 small businesses in your state of New South Wales. Again, the Morrison government putting in place the policies to keep our apprentices and our trainees where we need them on the job.
Senator Davey, a final supplementary question.
Thank you. Now, while we've seen encouraging signs of economic recovery, what measures is our government putting in place to continue to support our regional economies to further recover and help drive our roadway out of the pandemic?
Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. And Senator Davey, you'd be also interested to know that in terms of our Boosting Apprentices Commencement Wage Subsidy, which of course is supporting that new generation, that new pipeline of skilled workers in Australia, to date around 23,000 new apprentice training contracts has been reserved under the program by almost 12,000 businesses. And where are they located, those businesses? In regional Australia. Again, the Morrison government putting in place the policies to ensure that our regional businesses, our rural businesses, have that capacity to keep those apprentices on the job where we need them. But of course, our investment does not stop there, Mr President. We have a $100 million regional recovery partnership program. In terms of these partnerships programs, we're going to supercharge and coordinate investments with other levels of government to support growth, prosperity in at least 10 regions across Australia. We are putting in place the suite of policies that businesses need
Senator
to
Cash,
prosper,
time
grow
for the
and
answer
create more
expired.
jobs.
Senator Siewert.
Thank you, Mr President. Mr President, my question is to the Minister for Social Services, Minister Ruston. Minister, through you, Mr President, will you guarantee that people on the job seeker payment won't go back to $40 a day on the 1st of April?
The Minister for Social Services and Families, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and thank you very much, Senator Siewert, for your question and clearly a long-going and enduring interest in those people that find themselves in the need of the receipt of welfare. But one of the things I would say that has been very clear by this government is that we remain committed to walking side by side with all Australians as we walk our way through this pandemic. And we understand that it has been a tremendously tough year for many Australians over the last 12 months as this pandemic has taken an unprecedented toll on our economy and our society, and particularly individuals who found themselves who lost their work. But Senator Siewert, one of the things that the government has been very clear about is that Our focus must, whilst helping and supporting people who find themselves in a situation where they are unemployed, our most important role now that the economy is starting to open up, we are starting to see all of the statistics and figures of an economic recovery, a jobs market recovery. We're seeing renewed or returned levels of job advertisements and job availability, that we must make sure that the efforts of the government are entirely focused on assisting people on the pathway back to work. And that's why the government has moved and transitioned much of our support in terms of additional supports that are in the marketplace towards job creation and job access programs, like, for instance, the hiring credits.
Well, sorry, Senator Siewert on a point of order.
Mr President, point of order. I asked, no preamble, a very simple question. So could I please ask the minister, thank her for the information she's given us, will she guarantee that the payment won't go back to $40 a day on the 1st of April? Yes or no?
I can't instruct the minister how to answer a question, Senator Siewert. You did ask a very simple and precise question. If the minister is talking about that particular payment, I do consider that to be directly relevant, but I've allowed you a reminder of the question. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. But as I was saying, I mean, the point that I was making to Senator Siewert in my answer, Mr President, is the fact that we still remain in a situation where the COVID pandemic is impacting on our economy and on the response that the government is providing to the economy to support all Australians. And we believe that at the moment there are elevated levels of support that remain in place for people who find themselves unemployed at
Senator
this
Ruston.
time.
Senator Siewert, a supplementary question.
That is a no. Earlier this week, there were reports that the government was considering simplifying the system and considering a flat rate for the job seeker payment. Today we learn that the government might be considering a so-called unemployment insurance scheme. Isn't this just a deliberate distraction from the fact that the job seeker payment is going back to $40 a day on the 1st of April?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, I can categorically say no, it is not. And the other thing I would say in response to the question that you just put forward, or the commentary you just put forward, is that one thing I have learned very clearly around here is you don't speculate on speculation, and that is clearly what you are currently doing. There have been numerous commentaries around what governments do and don't do. I think probably the best thing to do is to wait and find out what government is doing when government actually does it. But what I would say to you, Senator Siewert, it is very clear that the economy has been significantly affected, our jobs market has been significantly affected, and we have had an unprecedented year of upheaval. But the government has made sure that we have stood side by side with Australians by providing additional support to those people who have found themselves out of work. Currently, we have an elevated support level for people who are unemployed of $150 a fortnight. That goes through for another sort of 6 or 8 weeks. But
Order,
we are
Senator Ruston.
absolutely
Time
focused.
for the answer has expired. Senator Siewert, a final supplementary question.
Minister, you've just admitted that the effects of the pandemic are still going. You've said you're walking side by side with Australians through this pandemic. What do you say to the thousands of people who are on job seeker today, right now, to the mothers, the fathers, the young people, the older people, about certainty? If you're so keen on walking side by side with them, what are you saying about certainty of a payment that's going to go back to $40 a day on the 1st of April?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, Senator Siewert, I won't repeat the answers I've given to your first two questions, but I would say the government had been stood with Australians who found themselves unemployed over the last 12 months by providing a coronavirus supplement in recognition of the conditions in the jobs market at the time. Clearly, when we first went into the pandemic, the $550 supplement recognised the fact that the jobs market closed down overnight. But now, as we're seeing the economy starting to open, the jobs market starting to improve, we're very keen to make sure that our initiatives that we have in the marketplace are helping people to get back into work, helping jobs to be created through the programs that are being put in place, like the Job Trainer program that Senator Cash is, the working hiring credits that have been put in place for young Australians, because the most essential thing that we can do to help people who are unemployed is to create jobs, help with business to create jobs and make sure they've got pathways to those jobs.
Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment, Senator Payne. Businesses in far north Queensland have made it clear to both the Morrison government and the opposition that JobKeeper is keeping businesses solvent, and with its withdrawal, jobs will go. CEO Skyrail Ken Chapman said of job losses, and I quote, "Across the region it will probably be thousands, definitely hundreds." Why won't Mr Morrison be upfront with these businesses about what ongoing support will be available at the end of March?
The Minister representing the Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment, Senator Payne.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And this is a matter, of course, that Senator Green has raised in the chamber previously, and I'm pleased to add to those responses I've provided in that context. In the last couple of weeks, as the Tourism Minister has had the opportunity, in fact since his appointment of course, to meet with many tourism operators, many peak bodies, to understand the impacts of the pandemic and what pathways to recovery might look like. Specifically in relation to Queensland, Mr President, most recently the Minister was able to visit regional Queensland. He participated in a series of roundtables. He met with tourism operators, with small businesses, with representatives of local industry. One of the reasons for that, Mr President, of course, is because members and senators on this side of the parliament believe it is important to meet directly with those business representatives and to hear that feedback in person. For example, the Minister held roundtables with exporters, with the tourism and aviation sector, which were hosted by Tourism Tropical North Queensland. He met with the CEO of the Star, theme park CEOs on the Gold Coast as well. He participated in another meeting with Gold Coast tourism stakeholders. So he has had the opportunity to hear directly from those local tourist operators to understand how state border closures and the loss of international tourists particularly are impacting them. I think the Minister has found that experience very valuable in terms of working so closely with the tourism sector in Queensland, but also across Australia on a post-JobKeeper plan for tourism recovery. As a result of those discussions and many other engagements, Mr President, the government is very conscious that JobKeeper has supported a large portion of the tourism industry. And, in fact, I myself have heard the positive feedback from many operators about that support.
Senator Payne, the time for the answer has expired. I was attempting to call order as well. Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr President. Tourism operators in far north Queensland are crying out for certainty from this government, fearful of their jobs and livelihoods. When will the Morrison government make an announcement about what support will be available when JobKeeper ends?
Senator Payne.
Thank you, Mr President. As I was saying in my remarks in the earlier response, the government is very conscious that JobKeeper has supported a large portion of the tourism industry, and so we are considering how best to support economic recovery in the tourism sector when JobKeeper does conclude at the end of March this year. I would, however, also remind the chamber, though, Mr President, that, as I have said previously, we have provided in the process of the response to the pandemic and in the 2020-21 budget a strong plan of support for the industry. That includes the $50 million for the Recovery for Regional Tourism Fund to boost tourism in 9 regions.
Senator Green on a point of order. It's difficult to tell. My apologies, because of the lectern. Senator Green.
Point of order, Mr President. It's just on relevance. The question was very directly about when the Morrison government will make an announcement about support when JobKeeper ends. It's an incredibly important date for these businesses that need certainty now.
Senator Green, I've allowed you to make the point of the second part of your question. The minister is entitled to be directly relevant to any part of the question. If the minister is talking about the first part of the question, that is also directly relevant. Yeah. Senator Payne.
I was going to respond further to the point of order, Mr President, but you dealt with that, and so thank you very much. That's all right, Mr President. I was speaking about, well, let me say, in response to the point of order, that I did respond to that part of Senator Green's question when I commenced my answer, that I did respond to that.
Senator Payne, the time for the answer has expired. Senator Green, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. As the senator has mentioned, the Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment claimed that he was in Queensland last week to gather the information that he needs to target support to the industry. We already know that the sector is losing billions of dollars a month and hemorrhaging jobs. How much more information does the minister need?
Senator Payne.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, I can only imagine, Mr President, that if the minister did not meet directly with tourism representatives in North Queensland, on the Gold Coast, other parts of the state represented by Senator Green, and in other parts of Australia. I can only imagine, Mr President, if the Tourism Minister did not do that, that those opposite would say he was negligent, that he was failing in his obligations to the sector. So the minister takes those very seriously, Mr President. We absolutely understand the pressure and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on tourism in this country. We understand, and our response reflects that. Whether it is the Recovery for Regional Tourism Fund, whether it is the Building Better Regions Fund, whether it is the Regional Recovery Partnerships Fund, whether it is the Business Events Grants Program, or whether it is the Consumer Travel Support Program, Mr President, all of those initiatives are directed at supporting this vital sector which has struggled.
Order on my left and right. Order. Senator Watt. Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Payne. Can the minister outline to the Senate the importance of Australia standing with other countries to oppose the practice of arbitrary detention in state-to-state relations?
The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Payne.
Thank you very much, Mr President. I thank Senator Patterson for his very important question. Mr President, one of the most powerful tools that we have to discourage countries from breaching their international obligations is speaking and working together to demonstrate a shared commitment to values and to goals. Early yesterday morning, very early Australian time, I joined colleagues from across the globe to endorse the Declaration Against the Use of Arbitrary Detention in State-to-State Relations, which has now been supported by more than 55 countries. The Australian government resolutely opposes the use of arbitrary detention, arrest and sentencing, including to influence state-to-state relations and exercise leverage over foreign governments. This is a malicious practice against international law. States' international human rights obligations include express obligations to foreign and dual nationals. In the declaration, we have highlighted the international rules, the norms and institutions that underpin stability and prosperity, human rights and enable global cooperation. I want to acknowledge the particularly strong leadership of Canada as well on these issues. The past year I've been working very closely with former Foreign Minister François-Philippe Champagne and more recently with his successor, Foreign Minister Marc Garneau, including to gather international support for speaking collectively against these practices and protecting the interests of our citizens. We'll continue to discuss areas of future cooperation with counterparts, as I did this morning in my conversation with US Foreign Secretary Raab. Australia's support for the declaration builds on a joint statement on politically motivated arbitrary detention delivered on behalf of 35 countries at the 45th session of the Human Rights Council in October. We will continue to advocate strongly for our citizens and others who are subject to arbitrary detention.
Senator Patterson, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister explain how bringing attention to the practice of arbitrary detention in state-to-state relations is in the interests of Australians and their safety overseas?
Senator Payne.
Thank you, Mr President. At any time, as parliamentarians know as part of their daily work, Australian officials are dealing with many complex consular matters around the world, and every single case is different. Australia observes rules that apply to foreign nationals here within our jurisdiction and extends appropriate domestic protections. We expect all other countries to do the same. We'll always call for our citizens to be accorded justice and procedural fairness in line with international norms, and Australia will hold countries to account for their international commitments and their obligations to comply with international law and practices. There must be a cost imposed for states who subject the citizens of other nations to arbitrary arrest and detention. Noting that international travel is restricted because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we do strongly urge all Australians to monitor advice in relation to these matters on the Smart Traveller website.
Senator Patterson, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister advise the Senate how Australia is advocating to ensure COVID-19 is not used as a pretext to erode human rights protections?
Senator Payne.
Thank you, Mr President, and I thank Senator Patterson for that supplementary question. Australia has been consistently maintaining that the COVID-19 pandemic should not be used as a pretext for reducing or removing access to either justice or to consular assistance for people in detention. Indeed, on the 24th of March last year, I made a statement expressing particular concern for the health, the safety and the well-being of Australians detained overseas during the pandemic in a number of countries. Further, as we said in our contribution to the UN Human Rights Council last June, we have condemned the abuse of emergency measures or the imposition of rule by decree to undermine human rights, to subvert democratic or judicial processes, to contribute to disinformation and to target opponents. I know these issues are of significant concern to the Australian community. I want to thank my colleagues from across this chamber for their ongoing engagement.
Before I come to you, Senator Watt, I'd like to draw to the attention of senators the presence in the gallery of the Ambassador of Austria to Australia, His Excellency Mr Wolfgang Lucas Strohmeyer. On behalf of all senators, I wish you a warm welcome to Parliament, but in particular to the Senate. Senator Watt.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment, Skills, Small and Family Business, Senator Cash. I refer to reports that in October 2019, following media inquiries into an alleged assault at Parliament House and in preparation for estimates hearings with the Australian Federal Police, the Minister left Ms Higgins a voicemail message in which she said, and I quote, "Daniel has got everything under control, I promise you." Can the Minister advise the Senate what her office had under control?
The Minister for Employment, Skills, Small and Family Business, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. And can I just say that, like all of us in this chamber, I'm absolutely devastated by what Brittany has gone through. Brittany was a valued member of my team for more than a year and a half. Senator Watt, in October 2019, a journalist made a media inquiry that involved Brittany and her previous employment. When Brittany discussed this matter with my Chief of Staff and I, she made it very clear that the matter had been dealt with at the time 7 months previously. She did not want to discuss the matter, and she did not want the matter taken any further. Her focus was on her distress at the journalist's inquiry and ensuring that at all times her own privacy was respected. We respected her wishes for privacy, but I made it very clear to her if she needed anything, she could always come to us.
Senator Watt, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. When did the Minister become aware that an alleged rape took place in Minister Reynolds' office in March 2019?
Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. And I only recently became aware. In fact, in relation to the alleged rape, it was when a journalist contacted my office for comment. On Friday the 5th of February, Brittany and I spoke, and she disclosed details of what had occurred. I told her I wanted her to stay in her role and I would do anything to assist her, including relocating her position to Queensland if she wished. I offered to go directly to the AFP with her so that she could provide them with a statement. I said I would sit with her while she did this. She advised me she did not want to pursue it. I also offered to go to the Prime Minister's office with her to raise the issue directly with them. She said no. She advised me that at all times she wanted her privacy respected. I told Brittany that I would reluctantly accept her resignation, but I made it very clear from her I was there for her, and if she needed anything, All she had to do was ask.
Senator Watt, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President, and I appreciate the Minister answering these sensitive questions. How did the Minister become aware of the allegation of rape, and with whom did she discuss this issue? What action did she then take?
Senator Cash.
I believe that I did just answer that question. I've provided you with the date. I discussed it with Brittany and she advised me of what she wanted. I offered to go directly to the Australian Federal Police with her. I offered to sit down with her while she made a statement. She said she did not want the matter pursued.
Senator McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Family and Social Services, Senator Ruston. What is the Morrison government doing to ensure families can give their children the best possible start in life?
Minister for Families and Social Services, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and thank you very much, Senator McLaughlin, for what I think is probably one of the most important questions you could ask, and that is, how do we support our children and make sure that we have well-functioning families to ensure that that support is able to be delivered. Because we know that children's development and their growth is so important to what happens to them later in life. Each year, the federal government invests more than $260 million in early interventions and prevention services under families and children's activity and family mental health support services. As a government, the programs we invest in are about giving children the best possible start in life. Early support for families plays a really important role in making sure that we support and prevent families from family breakdown, child neglect, family violence, substance abuse, mental illness and, of course, making sure that the transitioning of young children into school is the highest possible priority for any child. The flow-on effects of this are really very clear. It builds protections and skills and resilience in our young people so that they can go off into their life and we can avoid intergenerational disadvantage, which is so important. And intensive family support programs are one example of the kind of programs that we have been targeting. Early intervention programs we know reduce child neglect by working intensively with vulnerable families to improve parenting capabilities. On top of this, obviously, our childcare subsidy is a very important part to help working families make sure that they are in a position to be able to access early learning opportunities for their children. We are listening to providers and working collaboratively to make sure that we achieve the outcomes for our children that we'd like to see. We know longer-term ongoing funding is absolutely critical to future planning, and over the next 5 years we will invest more than $1.2 billion. A major task we are now undertaking is the development successor for the national framework for protecting Australia's children.
Senator McLaughlin, a supplementary question.
Yes, Minister. I think there's a program called HIPPY, which is helping prepare children. How is it doing so to improve their learning outcomes?
Senator Ruston.
Correct. Thank you very much, Mr President. And yes, I can confirm, Senator Wong, it is a Brotherhood of St Lawrence program and it has been amazingly successful. And the most important thing about this program, which goes very much to my heart and I know it goes to Senator McLaughlin's heart, is that it's focusing on giving the same sort of opportunities for children that live in the regions as those that in metropolitan areas, because we want to make sure every child in Australia has access to the opportunity of being able to have the best possible start in life. And in my home state, or our home state, Senator McLaughlin of South Australia, we're really proud of the Brotherhood of St Lawrence program, the HIPPY program, and what it's achieving on the ground. In fact, last week they launched 2 amazing reports that show the success of the program since it's been in place from the Murray Bridge Centre and delivering programs in the Murraylands. And can I thank the member for Barker who represented me last week whilst I was in quarantine, unfortunately unable to attend. But the HIPPY program recognises the importance in rural communities of supporting
Senator
our young
Ruston,
children.
time for the answers expired. Senator McLaughlin, a final supplementary question.
Minister, for regional families and children, what specific programs are helping to get kids and their parents ready for school?
Senator McLaughlin.
Well,
Senator Ruston.
Sorry. Oh, did you? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mr. President. Well, Senator McLaughlin, I mean, this HIPPY program is an absolute classic example of the kind of program that is absolutely focused on our regional and rural communities. It is a 2-year home-based parenting and early childhood learning program. What it does is it seeks to support parents and carers of young children aged between 4 and 5 so that they can actually assist in the learning of those children, sort of like the child's first teacher. But what it is about intervening early to make sure that we are assisting in the growth and development of young children, to make sure that the circumstances of a child do not impede their growth or their readiness for school, because we know that young children, when they first start school, if they're in a position to be school-ready at that time, end up being advanced much more quickly than those children
Order,
that start
Senator
with
Ruston. Senator Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham. A spokesman for the Prime Minister's office said, and I quote, "As part of this process, the Prime Minister's office provided support to Minister Reynolds and her office in assessing a breach of the Statement of Standards of Ministerial Staff by the other staff member involved in the incident." Can the Minister explain what this support from the Prime Minister's office entailed?
Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senator Reynolds has indicated she acted in accordance with advice from Ministerial and Parliamentary Services, advice in relation to the interpretation of the Ministerial Code. Would have been just that, advice into the interpretation of the Ministerial Code.
Senator Chisholm, a supplementary question.
Thanks, Mr. President. When and by whom was this support provided, and why was the support to Minister Reynolds' office limited to the alleged rapist?
Senator Birmingham.
Well, Mr. President, the advice I would imagine was provided in the period leading up to the termination of employment.
Senator Chisholm, a final supplementary question.
Yes, Mr. President. We know that in March 2019, the Prime Minister's office provided the Minister's office with support. The Prime Minister's fixer was broadly in proximity following the alleged rape and contacted Ms Higgins in the week after Four Corners aired its Inside the Canberra Bubble expose. The Minister's then Chief of Staff had previously worked for and currently works for the Prime Minister. How can anyone believe the Prime Minister when he says neither he nor his office knew of the alleged rape until this week?
Senator Birmingham.
Mr. President, I refer to the statements of the Prime Minister on the matter and ask that further questions be placed on the notice paper.
Senator Birmingham. Senator Birmingham.
If we're going straight to taking note, I think.